So Elon Musk just released Grok 4, which is their newest model, basically their version of ChatGPT. And this thing is setting the internet ablaze. A lot of it because it has excellent benchmark results, but it also has specific capability that is sort of novel, meaning that it's kind of a new thing that they're doing. And in this video, I wanted to walk you through what those benchmark scores look like and why this is such a big deal. Grok is basically like a ChatGPT. This is called Super Grok Heavy because I have the biggest tier of it. It's $300 a month, which is a freaking lot. It's comparable to the latest GPT models at $200 a month, but they also have cheaper versions. But it's basically, a thing where you type in like your usual stuff with, ChatGPT. But the big takeaways here is that the benchmark results from this new model, Grok 4, officially makes it the best AI model out there, period. So this is Elon Musk's XAI that built Grok, and now Grok 4 has superseded OpenAI's O3, aka ChatGPT, which is by far the most used AI model out there. Grok 4, based on this specific benchmark, is 2 points better than ChatGPT, whereas Google's model, which is a couple of the other sort of less powerful OpenAI models, are about the 70 range. So XAI is tops in one benchmark, and there's another benchmark as well. That's the ARC AGI benchmark. It's commonly thought of as one of the most difficult benchmarks out there. This x-axis is the cost per task, basically how much it costs to run a specific task. And then the score percentage, the vertical axis, is the score it got, right? And right now, this ARC AGI, standing for Artificial General Intelligence, the score percentages are very low because this is an extremely difficult test. But it's very interesting to see that Grok 4 performed by far with the best score in that specific benchmark. And it did so with some average cost per task, maybe slightly above average, but definitely less expensive than your O3 Pro highs and O3 Preview lows. And this is a logarithmic axis. So this is $1, this is $10, this is $100. So the separation between these two and Grok 4 is actually much bigger than the chart makes it seem, but it's by far the most capable. Now, how it did this is obviously the important bit of this benchmark, and I think it's going to be the most fascinating. And there was a post that Hans Nelson wrote. Hans Nelson is my co-host on my podcast. He's one of the best follows on X, and he put together this post. Let me go ahead and pull it up. You might see a little bit of an infinity screen while I do that. Hans made a post on X where he asked Grok if he missed anything, and Elon replied it was close enough. And so this was the post that he made, and it's super technical. It's for all of us, most of us, is going to be very difficult to follow. So of course, what I did is I went into Grok 4, or Super Grok Heavy in this case. Let me mute this. And I went ahead and I asked Grok 4 to give me a layman summary of why this is such a big deal. So I said, Elon Musk just said that this X post is mostly correct. Please translate this for a layman audience and highlight the most significant takeaways. Get to the point quickly, add context where necessary, and then I pasted Hans's post. And now, after I think it was like 2 minutes and 4 seconds, I finished summarizing this for people that are perhaps not as well versed in this as maybe we should be, or even could be, because this field is obviously super cutting edge and at the limit. And so it took about 2 minutes and 4 seconds to complete. What's really interesting here with this Grok 4 Heavy, I want to talk through this real quick because this is super cool. Each one of these dots represents the amount of time an agent took to go through that prompt and come up with their own solution. And this heavy mode, this Super Grok Heavy, has 4 agents. So 4, basically, how can I explain this? 4 AI robots that are working simultaneously in coming up with an answer to my prompt. So this 1 bot, 2 bots, 3 bots, 4 bots, and then each bot will go through and try to come up with the answer, and then they'll compare answers, and the most correct one, not like the average consensus, but the most correct one will then get tested and then posted. So Elon Musk recently endorsed an X post claiming that this company's AI model, Grok 4, is now the world's best. The post explains why XAI is pulling ahead of rivals like OpenAI. I'll break it down in plain English, avoiding tech jargon, and add real-world context where it helps clarify. So the core idea here is the bitter lesson in AI. And what it means is that in AI development, fancy tricks or human expert ideas often fail long-term. Instead, success comes from simple methods powered by huge amounts of computing power, like super fast computers, and massive high-quality data. It's called the bitter lesson because it's tough for smart researchers to admit that raw scale beats clever shortcuts. So this is just all-out horsepower. We got to go all in with compute, with the chips, the NVIDIA chips needed to actually make these things work. And the more you have, the better you'll be. So it's not just like how smart you are with using the chips, it's ultimately how many chips you have. And why it matters here. Musk bet big on this lesson by building a massive supercomputer called Colossus in Memphis, Tennessee. This gives xAI an edge that's hard for others to match, making Grok 4 outperform competitors' AIs. xAI owns the world's largest unified AI training setup with over 200,000, there you go, high-end NVIDIA GPUs, special chips for AI, working as one giant brain. As of June 2025, per Wikipedia, it includes 150,000 H100s, 50,000 H200s, and 30,000 GB200s. These are basically different types of chips. H100, H200, and GB200. I think this might be the best one out of all of them. And H200 is definitely better than H100, but basically a mixture of GPUs. Think of it as a city-sized computer farm. They're expanding to 1 million GPUs soon, nearly 5 times bigger, adding even more advanced chips. Why is it unbeatable? Musk's fast execution means xAI gets new GPUs first, thanks to good ties with NVIDIA's CEO, and sets them up quicker than anyone else. Rivals like OpenAI are racing to build similar setups in the Middle East, but they're way behind in speed and size. This forced OpenAI to shift focus to reasoning AIs that think more during use rather than relying on pre-training muscle. So the context here. Colossus was built in record time, just months versus years for others, making it a real engineering feat. It's terrifying for competitors because no one else can scale this fast without billions in funding and priority hardware access. And that's such a fascinating bit of knowledge there, right? And so I think for people that have followed OpenAI's trajectory, you've seen that as impressive of a product as it is, and it is very impressive and it's used by a lot of people, it feels like it just kind of like has stagnated and it's not making the jumps that it used to. OpenAI tried to come out with a new model recently and they had to peel it back because the results just were not good. They were having a lot of issues with it. And so that was kind of a fail, to be honest. But now xAI and others too, like Google's, Gemini's, their models are phenomenal. You got Claude with Anthropic, their models are phenomenal. OpenAI's lead from a technical perspective has sort of vanished. And now you have players like xAI that are able to step in and potentially, the benchmarks say supersede them. So that's huge. And because Elon Musk is, the richest person in the world, he has all the connections in the world, his access to the hardware and his access to get what is needed to fix the bitter lesson appears to be second to none. And it's such a weird thing to say, but it seems like this guy is just going to, more likely than not, win another industry that he's going to enter, which is artificial intelligence. He's definitely winning in the automotive self-driving sector. He is absolutely crushing everybody to bits in the space industry. And so very well could be that the same thing is going to happen here in the AI sort of space. And I think this Grok 4 may prove that. So back to infinity screen and we go to the next one here. The other half, data. Computing is useless without tons of data to feed the AI during training. xAI uses public web data and unique stuff from X, which is Musk's social platform, what used to be Twitter, like real-time news chats. But that's not enough for their huge setup, so they're innovating. They're using synthetic data, AI-generated fake data, especially for math, coding, and logic problems, easy to check if it's right. And xAI doesn't have a magic edge here, but their extra compute lets them experiment and improve faster. So because they have additional compute, they can literally run the same experiments more often than all the other players and faster, which means that they get to results quicker, which means they can ask questions faster again and get results quicker. It's kind of this flywheel of progress. And if you're the fastest, you're going to have the biggest lead because over time, if you fast forward a year, you would have generated the most amount of synthetic data by far, right? Relative to everybody else, probably in orders of magnitude more. This helped Grok 4 excel at step-by-step reasoning better than any rival. And their richer data like audio, images, and video, current AI is mostly trained on text first, then add multimedia later. xAI is flipping this for future models like Foundation Model 7, starting with sensory data to mimic how human babies learn, building a world model from sights and sounds before language. Video files are huge, so this gobbles up their compute but solves data shortages. And that's a fascinating one because that's kind of what Tesla is doing. Let me go back to my face here. Sorry, guys. You don't have to put up with my face. sort of what Tesla's doing with their FSD and their bot is that they're collecting massive amounts of video data of the real world, and that's what they're using to teach the cars how to drive and to teach the robots how to work and how to do stuff, right? I'm curious to pick Hans's brain. He has one brain, I think. He might have two. He's so freaking smart. I'm going to have him on next week for our pod. We're going to walk through this and chat through this to see what are the long-term implications. But it's just fascinating stuff that the scale lead and the amount of compute lead is really it seems like it's putting XAI at a massive advantage. And the bonus edge here is Musk's Tesla experience with self-driving car AI, trained on massive video from cars, gives XAI expertise in handling video data. No one else is doing this at scale yet due to technical headaches. So got ahead of my skis there, but there we go. So most significant takeaways. Scale wins AI races. XAI's bet on the bitter lesson proves that overwhelming compute plus smart data strategies create unbeatable AIs. Grok 4 is the result, claimed as the smartest model. The recent news notes controversies like Grok's 3's inappropriate outputs, which XAI is addressing. So this was the Mecca, you know what happened a couple days ago. Obviously not a good look for the company at all, but it is something that they're addressing, and it's not like the other AI companies weren't having issues. That's just what's going to happen here as they progress through this frontier model. So, the leading models, the best models out there. XAI's lead is growing. With the biggest, fastest growing supercluster and Musk's execution speed, competitors can't catch up soon. This could accelerate us towards advanced AI like AGI or human-level intelligence. Future shift to human-like learning. By incorporating video audio early, XAI is pioneering AIs that understand the world more like we do, potentially unlocking breakthroughs in robotics, self-driving, and beyond, which, again, they've already done and are doing with Tesla specifically. And the broader implications here, this highlights how AI progress depends on resources only a few like Musk can muster, raising questions about competition, ethics, and global access. Context: as of July 2025, Grok 4 is available via API or subscriptions, but it's pricey. It's $300 a month for heavy use, right? So not a lot of people are going to have access to a $300 a month tier. It's like, if we're thinking about AI access for everybody, how many people really could afford $300 a month for the smartest brain in the world? These are the things we got to walk through. Is the intelligence going to get so good that if you even have a 1 month advantage, you're going to be gone, and then everyone else is left to fend for themselves? Or is this going to be a flywheel where the system is going to teach itself over time instead of us teaching it, and it will just proliferate? It will become cheaper. It will become easier to access, et cetera, et cetera. These are the questions of our time. These are truly the questions of our time, and it's very difficult to get one's head wrapped around this. And so in short, the post hypes XAI's dominance through brute force scaling, and Musk agrees it's mostly correct. This positions them as AI leaders, but remember, AI claims evolve fast. Always check benchmarks for real performance. And that's ultimately here the biggest takeaway, is that this space is moving so fast that we went from XAI not existing like 3 years ago to now having the leading model out of everybody. And everybody else was around for much longer. OpenAI was founded in the middle 2010s, if I remember correctly, even maybe before, and Elon Musk was one of the co-founders. So now we're at the point where XAI is now the leader, and they've been around for a few years, and they are doing it with more compute than everybody else because the founder of the company is the richest person in the world and has the most access to assets. And so in theory, if the compute, that sort of bitter lesson, is truly the thing that gets companies to supremacy, then in theory, the person that has access to the most resources and the ability to purchase the most stuff, theoretically, would be able to get an edge. But then he's also going up against entire organizations like Google, entire organizations like Meta and Apple, if they ever get their shit together, right? So it's like one person versus massive organizations. And from Elon's perspective, he has a cultural advantage. People want to work for him. A lot of them take huge pay cuts to start, and then they make it up on the back end with a ton of equity in the companies that he starts. And that's why he's able to attract the talent he does, because eventually these people win. And when they win, they are made wealthy beyond their wildest imaginations, but they have to go through 120-hour weeks or more, a little exaggerating, but 80 plus, right? For potentially years. And that's what it takes to have something like this. And, that's why all these guys are always cracked out. It's because that's the kind of work it takes to work for a Musk company. And I know this because I used to work at Tesla. So anyway, I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you in the next one.